So yeah, good evening everybody, and thank you for joining us. Like I said, you've had a brilliant check-in. You're all ready to rearing to go. So we're going to start off with the evening's going to go. We're going to give you an introduction and how to do it. Zoe's going to start. Each of the teams are going to introduce stuff. I'm just going to give you a rundown. Zoe's going to start how to do the filming and how to record on the streets. And then Fergal will give you a different perspective. Kind of might probably cover the same thing, but it's always good to hear it twice. Then we're going to speak to Vlad, who will talk us about some of the technology we use to do the multiple streams. We have lots of streamers. And then we'll have Alice, who'll talk about the research and interviewing skills that will help you enhance your streams. And then we've got a guest, a speaker who does photography and you can talk about the photography element if you want to take photographs. Might be more relevant to the Rebel War 1, and then also helps you composition, which is all relevant for taking for shooting film. So each of them going to introduce themselves now very quickly. So let's start with Zoe. Go for it, Zoe.
Yeah, no, I'm Zoe. I am one of the Livestream coordinators. I'm also the external coordinator for global media and messaging, and also for media training in the global circles. So yeah, get in touch if any of those things are needed, and I can set you up with trainings for various different media areas. I'll pass on to Alice.
Hello everyone, I'm Alice. I am a fully trained or formally trained journalist and have worked in that area. So I've done a lot of interviewing in the past, and today what I'm going to be doing is teaching you all about interview skills. And I am going to be talking also a little bit about on-camera technique as well. I'm going to pass over now to Vlad.
Hi everyone, yeah, I'm Vlad. I'm doing the multi-location or multi-camera streams, and I do all of the tech side of that and some of the tech side of other stuff, just connecting live streams, making sure everything's working smoothly. And I'm also involved, I'm helping the Rebellion of One team with the live streaming element of that, so I'll speak about that a bit as well in a bit.
And finally to Fergal. Introduce yourself, Fergal.
Hey dude, my name's Fergal. I'm one of the live streaming coordinators, and what you're going to be learning tonight is pretty much all the mistakes that I've made probably on the ground the last 2 years, so you're pretty lucky. I wish I had this 2 years ago. So enjoy. Over to you, Zoe.
Brilliant.
So hoping that you can see that okay. So yeah, so why film protests? I've been filming protests since 1993, and the reason that I'm doing it is basically to get amplify people's voices, get those protester voices out there, and to sort of get away from trying to rely on the mainstream media covering the actions that you're doing. I see the camera as a sort of non-violent weapon to help create change. You're a witness to the behaviour, and hopefully it will inspire other people to get involved. And why live stream? Partly because you then don't have long late night editing. You're also getting the story and the video out there immediately, which is great, especially when there's rebellions and there's several actions happening a day. With Facebook, due to the algorithms, you're getting a much larger audience by live streaming because people get notifications. People can come and join at that moment. If you're in a city and you're saying that something's happening, people can come and join in. And those that can't get there can actually follow it online, and they can share that as a way of campaigning and comment and support you in that way. But also do notice that if you are live streaming, then you're quite likely, what you're filming is likely to be being watched by police and security too, so just be aware of that. So in terms of Facebook, when we've been posting up Facebook events, here you've got the same action put out as a series of photographs with text, and it's got like sort of reach of nearly 8,000. I think it's on Facebook UK, whereas the live stream got sort of 32,000 reach. and with loads more engagements and likes and lots more shares, like, you know, over 330 shares to 14 shares. So these are all good reasons to get into live streaming. And this action was our action which got most views. I think we're at like 3.3 or something million views now, with 15,000 likes. And although I'm sure a lot of people joined and watched that action because of the topless women, the interviews that they gave during that action while they're locked to those gates were absolutely brilliant about the climate emergency. So it was absolutely brilliant for getting the message out there, and super brave women. Basics of live streaming, you just need a smartphone. So newer smartphones do have sort of better cameras, and the basics of it is that you get a much better audio if you plug in your headphones that came with your camera. So sort of just the basic bud headphones that have got the little mic on, that gives you a much better audio than if you're just using the phone microphone. And if you're doing lots of live streaming, you might want to buy a plug-in mic, making sure you've got the right adapters. And the image on the right here, the fluffy thing, actually stops the wind noise. So that's great for actually just blocking out some of the wind if you're outside filming. And that's called a windsock. And if you get really into it, you can start getting kits such as, I've got a phone holder on top of a monopod, and then you can attach your phone into there, and then that's much more steady to hold. And it means you can get sort of shots from high up, and if you're filming speeches or talks, you can actually put the hold it steady onto the ground. And if you're filming outside and it's going to get dark, think about top lights. You can also use bike lights and or, you know, whatever's to hand, basically. I've even filmed with other people using the light from their phone to light the person I'm trying to film. So it's, you know, make use of what you've got. If you're preparing for a live stream, important to make sure that your phone is fully charged. It does use a lot of battery power, and potentially take a battery pack with you. I tend to have a sort of fully charged battery pack, and I make sure that I'm charging my phone up until the point that I'm at the action, so that I've got as much power there as possible. Make sure you've got enough data on your phone. I think we're thinking it takes about 1 gigabyte per hour. So it does use up the data. So just make sure you've got that ahead of the live stream. You want to make sure that we're mostly talking about Facebook today, but make sure that you can actually live stream to the Facebook site that you want to live stream to. So go to that site and see if it comes up with the option of live. You know, there's often a post, a photo, video or text, and there's also a live button. Check that you've got permissions to actually live stream to that channel. And then just sort of planning, you know, make sure you've got a contact who's going to be at the event in case the planning changes last minute, know where you're getting to, and do practice that live streaming beforehand. Also, lots of actions can end up being longer than expected. So I tend to have a backpack so that my hands are free for the monopod. I might be holding a mic out with the other hand, but make sure that you've sort of got, you know, snacks, drinks, and you're prepared for the weather. So, you know, often these things go on a bit longer than you expect, and backpacks are great just to keep those hands free. And before you actually start live streaming, I often write the text into my notes on my phone. That, you know, and I might get that from the press release if there's one going out. So you want a title, catchy title, a description of the action, and then think about the tags and hashtags that you want to have on that post. With Facebook, these can be edited afterwards, but sometimes when you go to the live stream, it doesn't go first time and you don't want to be typing it all back in again. So I often put that into my notes and then copy that from there into my live stream post. It's worth checking if you've got 4G, and then if you have, turn your Wi-Fi off. When you're out and about on the streets, your phone will be constantly trying to find the best Wi-Fi signal and sometimes not have a good Wi-Fi signal. So 4G seems to be more reliable and give you then a better quality image if you've got 4G there. And then the very last thing I do is I turn on do not disturb on my phone, and that stops people phoning me up midstream, because that can actually cut the stream if you can't sort of like decline that call straight away. So just make sure those are done. So this is like a 1-minute video just to show you how to live stream. Just going to talk over it. So you want to go to Facebook and then go to the site that you want to Facebook live to. So this is, I'm going to live stream to Oxford. And then now I can see the live button. So I click on the live button and then I'm going to go to my notes and find the title and the description that I've written there earlier and cut and paste that or copy that from my notes, then go back to Facebook and paste it in the description. And then, important thing, turn your phone to landscape. This is the shape of computer screens and works much better for then editing in with other films and things as well with the file. And then press that live button. You can then see it's gone live and you can see how long it's on for and how many people are viewing. At the end, you press finish. And then you want to do save, saves it to your phone as a video file. And then share means that it's then shared permanently onto the Facebook site. And then it takes a few minutes if you've been filming for quite a while, but then I go and check on the Facebook site that the post has gone up there and check it's all there. Just going to go through that once more, just because that 1 minute is basically the key facts you need for live streaming. So go into Facebook. Find the site that you want to be live streaming to. So for the Rebellion of One protesters, you want to see if you can get onto your local site. Press live. Then go to your notes, find the text that you've written ahead of time. And remember, you can edit this afterwards if needed. Copy that into the Facebook site. So into the description. And then turn the camera so that it's landscape. That's really key. And you want the words and the picture to both be landscape before you hit the go live button. And that way, you know, it's all recording in the right dimensions. And don't then flip it again back to portrait. So end your stream at the end, then save it to your phone and then press the publish. And it's going out live, but then that saves it onto the Facebook site. Okay. And then just go and check on the Facebook site that it has gone up there. Roles in live streaming. If you're the only live streamer there, then you're going to need to both present the film and film. So I often do it from behind the camera. I'm not very happy being in front of the camera, but other people are. And then you've got to basically do both. So you're doing both the techie side and the narrating, presenting. And I often go and find people to interview so that it can reduce the amount that I have to speak on it. If there's two people on this, one of you can film and one of you can present. And if there's more than two, then you can actually have, you know, if you've got a media team there, have some of them going off and finding the next person to interview. You know, and they can be checking what's happening next. Have you covered everything? After the event with your film, in an ideal world with loads of editors, we could get short video content from your live streams, and that can also be used for social media after the event. So if you've been filming for, you know, 30 minutes or even 90 minutes, it does mean that you're, you could take out, you know, the interview that you got with a key spokesperson there and have something that's, you know, under 2 minutes. It could go out on Instagram or out on Twitter. So it's just worth thinking about, do you have some key sentences in there which could be used afterwards? It's worth thinking about what to film and what not to film. I wouldn't ask people what's happening next because you're letting everybody know. So if you're about to go around the corner and glue onto something, so, you know, just don't ask that question so people don't accidentally say it and then realize it's gone out publicly. Think about, could your footage be used to either support or convict a protester in court? And so is it okay what you're filming? And that's quite a complex question, but yeah, just think that through in terms of what you're recording. But do let people know why the protesters are there, what are the XR demands, where you are, and any relevant and interesting facts. And you can repeat this through the live stream because it tends to be live streams that people dip in for a few minutes. and sort of have it on in the background, so you can actually repeat after a period of time, 10 minutes, you could repeat where you are and why people are there. With interviewing, we're going to get more detailed interview ideas with Alice later on in this workshop, but I usually ask people if they want to be on interview while not filming them. So I point the camera away from them while I'm asking, just so that they're not there sort of having to say, no, I don't want to be interviewed on camera, already being filmed. Get them to describe what's going on. Try not to ask them questions which have yes or no answers. And I often end with, is there anything else you'd like to say? So just so that they can have an opportunity to get their personal stories across. So footage to capture. So get the movement, get people locking on, potentially show number of people that are there. Don't start your live stream before the action happens, because it could end up getting stopped because of that. So just, yeah, it's just common sense, really. If possible, get to your events early so that you can meet the protesters beforehand and work out who is good to interview. And then through the event, you can repeat, why you're there, what's going on. And yeah, hold your cameras as steady as you can and use a monopod if you've got one. And if you're trying to capture speeches, try and get right to the front. You don't want the backs of heads in your shot, so try and get right to the front and think about getting good audio. And then after this workshop, it'd be brilliant if lots of you could join the Livestream Telegram list. So as trained live streamers, then you'll see if we're doing requests out for live streams that are coming up, if we need actions covered. And also, if you've got questions to ask after this workshop, there's a group where you can all chat and discuss sort of best kit or any more advice that you need. And I'll stop sharing there.
Brilliant. So Fergal, over to you.
So I'm going to go and I'm going to run over pretty much everything you've heard again, and then I'm going to run over it again, because this is the most important thing, is to get the basics right. You get the basics wrong, and it's pretty annoying. So I'm just going to double check. Gaz's screen is frozen. Don't know if I'm on speaker view for the people recording.
Yeah, you're on speaker view.
Yeah, okay, because it's you're on the screen. Okay, yeah. Anyway, so start off with, before you leave your room, wherever, backpack. All right, you want one of these bad babies. It's a nice big massive battery pack, because what happens is you're going to run out of battery when you live stream. It eats through your smartphone. Right, the very first time I got a new smartphone, it lasted 45 minutes and then went dead. Right, so get one of these, get it fully charged, make sure you've got the right cable for it. Then what you do is you get another one, make sure you've got another cable for it, and you chuck that in the bag as well, because what happens is you bump into people and everybody runs out of battery. Everybody wants it. And then what you do is you actually bring a couple of these spare connectors that you can go from an iPhone to an S20 or whatever. There's a couple of different ones around. This one here, it will do a battery pack and it will do a normal kind of earphones. So there's a couple of these different adapters around, kind of thing. So you just kind of have a look and figure out what kind of phone you've got. Chuck it in the bag. Then you've got your earphones. I've got 2 sets now because I've discovered one is dodgy. More recently, since I've started doing vmixing, I've got earphones, and I don't actually use them plugged in. I just actually put them over, so in case I need to speak to Vlad, just blocks all the noise out. Chuck that in the bag. Get some water. Chuck it in the bag. Bring some snacks. Chuck it in the bag. A little bit of sun cream. Chuck it in the bag. Earplugs, really important. It's crazy when you're actually live streaming, you're going to go up and there's speakers around, so you actually want to get close to the front, as Zoe said. But the problem is when you go close to the front, you got the big speakers going on, and yeah, you'll end up with ringing ears. So earplugs, chuck them in the bag. So you got this nice big bag. Then also mentioned getting an external mic. I have not been able to figure out how to get my external mic to work. And if you can't, don't worry about it. And then the other thing I like to have is, yeah, this thing here. It's my homemade contraption for holding my phone. right? So you get those, you're all set, ready to go. First thing you need to do is you need to know where you're going. It's quite amazing. Sometimes you end up going to the wrong place, and try and get there early, which I never do, right? So it just makes everything a lot easier. So you got a fully charged phone, you go there, you've got your press release, you get the press release and you make a copy of the press release on your phone. What I like to do as well is I bring a notebook with me, and in the notebook, I make a note of the most important people I need to speak to and their phone number. So nothing, make sure there's no dodgy information in case you get stopped or gets confiscated by the police. And just a note of where you're going and who the key speakers are. Because the trick to a good live stream, it's not about you, it's about the people you're interviewing, and it's about the action. So you want to be able to be there to tell the story. So you need to know what the story is. So a little bit of background info before you go. And also what I find is with my little black book here, I fill it full of like useless information about climate facts. So just in case you run out of anything to say, you can just bore people to death with your stories, right? So you got all this done, get your phone, get to the action. It's about to go absolutely crazy. You got somebody in Norfolk and they're going to be outside a council building and they're going to be taping something to the front of the door. So just before it goes, the samba band's about to kick off. What I do is I plug in my earphones, make sure they're plugged in first. I've just been using my earphones as a mic because I know it works 100%. And so you go to your phone. I'm going to run through everything you've just heard before. So scroll down and I go over to do not disturb. Okay, so I press my put my do not disturb button on. And I also, this is a Android, so it has portrait, and I press that and it goes into like an auto rotate. Okay, so it's kind of the slightly opposite way around for an iPhone, which you've just been shown, but you need to figure that out yourself. So two things to do not disturb, put it onto your auto rotate, and then switch your Wi-Fi off. So, right, so there, then my Wi-Fi is switched off. So that's the very, very basic, that you need to do. Next thing, you go to your phone, you find your Facebook. On your Facebook, then you go and you do a search. I'm going to go for Extinction Rebellion UK, and I click on it. Right, so I've got the right page. I scroll up. There's a button. It says create a post. There we go, create a post. So I just press that. Right, so it says create a post, and there's a button just here. It says live stream. I'm going to press the live stream. Okay, so pressing the live stream, then you get this kind of screen that looks like this. What you can do is you can copy and paste the description into it. So you go to your notes. So you go to Samsung Notes or whatever notepad is on your phone, or if you send to WhatsApp with the press release, you then go and you copy and paste. So you just keep your finger on the button, add a description, and we just go whatever. So I just type in there, very bare minimum. You type live ... Norfolk Town Hall, and whatever the description is, and you put it in there. And then you press done. And then you've got this blue button down here, which says start your live stream. And what you're going to do before you do anything, this is the classic mistake, and I know, and I've made it so many times, and I keep on making it. You need to turn your phone into landscape, and then you press the go live button, right? And then once you press the go live button, you're going to see in the top right hand corner, I'll just do it for 1 second, starting live video, and then it says live, and it goes 1 second, and it'll give you a counter up there. So they're the very bare minimum that you need to do to get your live stream going. Okay, so that's all the technical stuff out of the way. All right, I see just one other point on that. As Zoe said, you need to make sure you have permission to go onto the Facebook page. right? So get that sorted the day before. Make sure you've got the permission, and make sure you've gone to your Facebook and you've clicked notifications and you've accepted notification. So you've got the access rights to go live on Facebook. Okay. So you're all set. You're all ready to go. Right. Top tips. So what I do, I start a live stream. I start in a selfie mode like this, talking to the camera. Pop this in so I don't have to hold anything. Here's a microphone. And I go, this is Fergal live in Norfolk outside the town hall. Oops. I've just realized I've just accidentally gone live on Facebook UK. So Vlad, if you could delete that video. And whatever you do, make sure you don't accidentally go live. Okay, so sorry about that. Yeah, I shouldn't have actually done that. I should have done that on my own personal account. So that was a bit stupid. So anyway, so live, here we are in Norfolk. And what you do is you make sure before you go live that you know who you're going to interview and you know what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to pick out somebody. We've got Ned from Norfolk. I spin it around. I point my camera at Ned and I go, Ned, what's going on? And it'll be whatever the action is. It doesn't have to be all singing and dancing. It doesn't have to be fake blood getting sprayed everywhere. It can be somebody talking to camera about something that's very important, but you just need to build the content of what's going on. So if it is something that's very dramatic, it's very good just to start your live stream just as the spicy thing is happening, and then you go straight to it and you start actually you start covering it. And then as we heard, you want to line up your speakers. You want to know who's there. Describe what you see. So just remember, is what you're doing is you're presenting to the people there at home, and the idea is to educate, inform, tell them what's going on. This is not just like entertainment. It's not just, people don't want to see just, you know, random acts of what can be perceived as some kind of vandalism. There's a reason people do actions, and it's you know, there's a climate emergency going on. You say why we're here, what the context is, context of the action, and then bring people in, and it's just like a conversation. Okay, so don't worry too much about kind of trying to be a presenter or whatever. So just be yourself. You're going to get some tips later on actually how to do interviews and stuff. So you go around, video what's going on, hold your phone nice and steady, nice and slow, panning it around like this. Every 5 or 10 minutes, you want to check back in with people watching, because people will come onto the Facebook page and they'll watch for 3 or 4 minutes. They'll read the description, they'll understand what's going on, and they'll go and Google something else. Okay, so you just want to have constant reminders. Here we are live in Norfolk outside the town hall, where the town hall has announced it's building a new incinerator. And you just remind every 5 or 10 minutes what exactly is going on. Okay, so just inform the viewer. Also interact, ask them to share, ask them to, can you please share this? Because another reason we live stream is because a lot of information doesn't go out on mainstream media. Mainstream media, they don't talk in depth about the climate emergency. They don't go into the very small details. So it's to actually inform people, and it's to try and bring people in. So make sure you have some interaction. You can click likes if people have comments. You can read the comments and call out their names. Describe what you see. You know, we're in front of the town hall. The police have just arrived. The mayor has just arrived. We're having a discussion now about this new incinerator, etc., etc. And if there's flyers, you can read flyers and explain what's on the flyers. And then when you're going to finish, you go back to your Facebook page and you click the finish button, and it will give you 2 or 3 options. It will give you the option to upload in high definition or in a good quality. So you want to tick that box. Also, it gives you an option to save to your phone. I've started doing that, so I save all the videos to my phone. So you've got like a very good copy of them, and then you click upload, and you just wait till it actually uploads. Okay, and then it's good practice when you are live streaming to let somebody know. So we've got a chat. If you're ever going to do anything on Facebook UK, you let us know what's going on. So if you're doing it for your local page, tell people that you're going to be doing it, and tell people just to check in and check out for safety reasons, just in case something happens. Yeah, so I think that's in a very quick brief summary of what's going on. So I've put in the chat, if you scroll up, if you see my name, there's a guide I put in there. It's a fold up pocket guide, and it's a checklist. So print that off, have that with you, and yeah, it was just a quick reminder of all the things you need to do. Okay, any questions?
There's a question in the chat about access to access rights to Facebook. Could you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, so if you're going to live stream anywhere, you need to have access rights. So is a couple of different levels. So you need to be made either normally an editor. So the admin of the site will have to find your Facebook profile and befriend you, and then has to give you permission to become an editor. And you'll get sent a notification to your Facebook page in notifications, and you have to tick that. You have to like accept it. And once it's accepted, then you have access to that page. And just make sure you don't abuse it. If you've agreed to do it for a live stream, don't start putting posts up about your cat or something that you're opinionated. You're just going to really annoy everybody, and you're going to get chucked off. Okay, so just make sure if you're given permission, don't abuse it. And if you're only going to use it once, you should be removed. But if you're going to stay on, just talk to the admin person about that. Yeah, it's called Ferg's live streaming checklist, after the author. Sorry. Yeah, so just print it off. It's a one page, fold it up, stick it in your wallet, forget about it. And then when you need it, you just pull it out, remember it.
Basically, if you don't publish, I've got a feeling, I'm not 100% certain, but it may actually remove it. It may just have it as, you know, whilst you are streaming, it's available for everyone to see. But if you don't publish it, then once you stop, then it's no longer available to see. Because once you've finished and you tick that box to publish it as a post, then it's just a post as all the other posts in the newsfeed. And then if you click the upload in HD, then it basically replaces your live stream with a higher quality version. It doesn't create a new post. It just suddenly, for everyone that's viewing it after you finish streaming, they see a better quality version.
Yeah, I'm just going to just add one point to that. The best advice I can give everybody here is to go tonight and do a live stream on your own Facebook page, and you can set the viewing to private so nobody can actually see it. Stick a radio on in a room, practice with the sound, find somebody to interview, and walk around for a couple of minutes, run through the checklist and just go check, 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 description, copy and paste, go live, and check your sound and do a couple of minute live stream and go and watch it back again. And that is the best way of actually making sure you get it right. And just if you do that twice, you'll be all set for, you know, the rest of your live streaming careers. You sometimes get some very irate and very annoyed people from the very actions that we carry out. They are disruptive. So yeah, I think just try and be calm. Just be aware of your own safety. Just, yeah, if somebody's directly, you know, confronting you and they don't like you live streaming or whatever, the best thing to do is just to move away from the situation. If you're uncomfortable, just move away. So, yeah, just don't be confrontational with people, and remember, your role here is, it's like you are a reporter, you know. So just kind of think of that frame of mind. If you go and start taking part in an action, then you're kind of crossing over the line of kind of like what you're doing in a way, you know. So just think of it, you're an observer, and how you'd react in any normal situation in that kind of, you know, in any normal kind of conflict type situation.
And also, if you're streaming to your local pages, you know, it's always good to have somebody moderating anyway. We try to moderate the big pages, the UK or London, but like if you moderate into your local groups, it's good to have somebody there watching, and then, you know, at least if something happens, they know as well, because it's live.
Yeah, I'm going to just throw in one very last point.
Okay.
What Vlad's just said in the chat. Yeah, make sure you've got, if you want to save to your phone, make sure you got loads of storage. Get some external storage and get more than you think you need, because you will use it. And also, as Zoe said, if you're on a pay-as-you-go plan, you're going to eat through your data. So just make sure you've got like a plan or something that you've got like loads of spare data. So yeah.
Going to move on to Vlad, and Vlad's going to go through the software that we use to do multiple streams on sometimes in one location and sometimes across the country, and even we've done it internationally as well. So over to you, Vlad.
Thanks. Yeah, so vMix is a professional TV broadcast type software, and it gives us the flexibility to be a bit more creative with our live streams. So where a normal live stream is, you know, one person using one phone connecting to one Facebook page, we can have multiple phones connecting to a control room, and then if I was there, I would switch between locations and overlay graphics, play pre-recorded stuff, and that's where it can kind of do split screen, whatever, you know, it'd be really creative. And then that gets pushed out to multiple platforms as well. So we can do like lots of, it can stream simultaneously to lots of Facebook pages, YouTube, Twitter, or all at once. Also the benefit is that each stream is recorded individually as well. So if there's a big action happening and, you know, we're live, say in Edinburgh, but actually something in Birmingham is happening, everything's being recorded, so nothing is lost. And we can use that later on, or we can even take that recording and play in the live stream, you know, a couple of minutes later as well. So it gives us a lot of flexibility. Everything that you heard from Fergal and Zoe generally applies to vMixing as well, because it is just another type of streaming, but there's a few things different from the point of view of the streamer. One thing is you don't need to worry about permissions for Facebook page, because that's all handled at the control room, and you don't need to worry about description or anything like that. All that happens is if you want to be one of the streamers, one of the locations or one of the cameras, you get sent a link and you open that link on your phone in a browser. You don't even need to download an app. And as soon as you do, and it will ask you for permission to use your microphone and camera, then your feed immediately starts coming on my screen. So you'll be one of 8 people typically, and then I can switch between locations and use that footage and audio in any way that makes sense for the live stream. And the headphones are really important with vMixing, because whilst you're connected to vMix, we can have two-way communication whilst you're live or your location's live or someone else's. So say if you're in Edinburgh and Fergal's live in London, so what everyone can see on the live stream is Fergal in London, you're free to kind of either have a break or speak to me as director. So I might say to you in Edinburgh, you know, Ned, we're going to cut to you in a few seconds. Are you ready? You know, and you can kind of answer back. So in a lot of ways, there's kind of less to think about in terms of permissions and description, and you get opportunities for breaks in between, and you can really think about what you're going to say. You can maybe in those breaks, whilst you're not live, you can find someone to interview. You get prepared, have a drink, whatever, and then I'll try to kind of give you a bit of warning when I'm coming to your location. And then you'll see on the app or on your phone in the browser when you're live as well. So when you're not live, you can follow along the live stream and watch what everyone else is saying, everyone else is connected. And then you can actually hear you being introduced. Fergal might say, okay, now we're going to switch to Ned in Edinburgh. And Ned will, I'm not sure why I'm saying Ned or Edinburgh. I'm not sure if Ned is Edinburgh at all, but probably not. But that's the example. So yeah, we tend to use vMix for either when it's like a UK wide or a global action. It takes a bit more time to prepare from the kind of production side, from the control room, and for everyone behind the scenes. So yeah, we kind of save that for actions where we think it works well on. But if you'd like to do that, to be one of the streamers for a vmix, you know, please get in touch. We do call outs.
It was reputed to think that wasn't the case. So why does it?
We do call outs on the Telegram channels. If we've got, like, if we're looking for streamers in a particular location, we will ask, and if anyone's free to do a vmix, and then you know, and hopefully if you see that call out and you'd like to try it, I'd encourage you. It's kind of a nice way to get involved in live streaming, because like I said, it's not all on you. You've got a whole support team behind you. You've got me as director, and you're not always live 100% of the time. You can always switch. You could always just say, you know, Vlad, do you mind switching to another location? I just need a break, or whatever, you know, that's fine. So that's vmix.
Thanks, Vlad.
Presume we're using it on Saturday then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we could all hook into that if we want to.
No, it's they've been taken already. So all those 8 slots have already been booked up. But this is why we're encouraging you guys to do it locally to your Facebook groups. So,
sorry, if I could just mention on the point of Rebellion of One, for this vmix, for the UK wide vmix, we are looking for short, kind of 30 to 60 second clips of sitters that we will then use in a grid view style. So hopefully the idea is for everyone to submit really short, like maybe 30-second clips of the sitter at eye level, head on, and then that gets put into a grid view to show the scale of the action. And that's one of the kind of video assets that we'll use in that. And I will share a link of where to post those videos, but it's basically the Telegram group called XR UK Live Action Content. I'll post a link.
Yeah. Nicole?
Oh, hi. Yes, we have 2 sitters in Lincoln at 2 different locations. Would both the people that are doing the videoing be able to live stream to the same page at the same time?
No, it'll be one at a time.
Right.
Or what you could do is record one of them and then put it up later. So what I'd recommend is film one of them live and then record the other one and then put it up afterwards.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, just add Vlad, like, you know, this whole thing is just like, you know, you got to remember, like, streaming to your own Facebook pages is all about like local content. And, you know, I do a lot with Wandsworth XR, and if people want to see what's going on, you just tell them just to go to your, you know, you go to your local page. You know, if you're in Inverness XR and you're doing it in Inverness, and a passerby can see what's going on, you can just go to Extinction Rebellion Inverness and log on and see what's going on. And that's what it is. It's your own personal, you know, way of doing it. It's your choice. You know, what we're doing is we're just giving you tips on how to do it. You know, what would be great is if everybody does a 30-second video before you do anything, or if you have somebody separate to do a 30-second or 1-minute video and send it into Vlad, that collectively will be kind of like, that will go into a huge montage, which will be absolutely amazing. So, you know, one take from this is get the link that Vlad has said, and make sure one person their one responsibility is to get a 30-second video of the sitter and send it into Vlad, you know, and then collectively that will go out into XR or UK as a big collage. But everything else, it will sit in your Facebook page. We can see it as well. You can actually send this into like the weekly roundup, and you can use it afterwards. If you save it in HD, or if you save it on your Facebook page, you can use it afterwards, and you can cut it up, and you could do 30 or 60-second little videos from it for your Twitter page, for your Instagram, or for whatever. And it's a good asset to have, you know. So yeah, just record it, use it, make sure you try and get the maximum media coverage out of it, and just put it across all the channels that you have, and just get it out there.
I was just basically asking kind of a similar question to before, which is that in Lambeth we'll have like, I think 3 or 4 sitters at the same time. So we'll all be live streaming to the same page. So it'd be a lot of content at once. So I was just checking that would be okay, and that we weren't splitting the audience too much.
I am like 95% certain that you can do it at the same time.
Okay.
But last time, when I when I saw that happening on XR UK was, you know, almost 12 months ago. So it's one of those things that needs to be checked again. But like it's been said in the chat, it hasn't, it splits the audience because they can only watch one live stream at a time. But also it does, like Peter said, it has a negative impact on the algorithms.
Yeah.
Facebook doesn't like if you keep posting lots and lots of live streams, because one of the huge benefits of a live stream is that lots of people actually get a notification that it's happening, which is much more than any other post would get. And if you just keep doing live streams to get those notifications out, then it will just slowly start to show your live streams less and less.
I think it might be more powerful if you do one live stream and then record the others, just film it on your phone and upload. So you record it as if you're doing it live and then just upload it later. Does that make sense, Grace?
Yeah, it does make sense. I'm just thinking we'd almost have to choose one sitter that would be live streamed at the time.
Yeah.
I'll just have to talk to the other groups and discuss how we can get around that.
Yeah, because somebody else, Nicole from Lincoln, had the same problem. She's got two people. And I think you've got to think about impact. So in this case, it's not about getting the live stream out, it's getting the impact out. So I choose one and then record the others and then upload it, even like 10 minutes later. But you know, just think about the impact in that case.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah,
it's quite a unique situation, this one, because it's not one long kind of, you know, march or demonstration. It's a moment, but you want to get impact.
Yeah. Obviously it's amazing we've got so many people doing it at the same time, but then it also becomes quite difficult to keep that content. Okay, I'll talk to the whole group.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah, so just on that point as well, remember you can do it to Twitter and Instagram. So we've concentrated on Facebook and making a little video here. So there is different media outlets, you know. So just the most important thing is to make sure somebody's there recording it. You know, yes, one can go live, and if something goes onto a different channel, fine. Or if something's uploaded half an hour later, fine. Or if something's diced up later, you know. So it's just really getting it out there across as many different platforms that you can. You know, and you can go and do it and send it into, you know, your local, you know, local radio station or whatever. Just think, how can you get the most impact for what you're doing? You know, so don't just rely on your local Facebook page. Just think of all the different avenues that you've ever used before, and your local journalists, your local anybody you know in media. You can also put it onto your own Facebook pages. So if you got like followers on your Facebook page, just stick it up there. Do watch parties. You know, just really, if there's a team of like 4 or 5 people, you can have 2 people going to different channels. You know, just get it up there.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. So Grace, if you've got 4 people, you could have them all going to their local Facebook pages as well as the local XR one. And that will solve the problem with re-recording and putting it up later on as well. Okay, somebody says, I'm confused. So do we upload a video or a photo at 11:15? Vlad, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, a video. That Telegram channel is for all sorts of XR live action content. So feel free to upload whatever you want there, but like photos, videos, longer form interviews, you know, or whatever you think is useful, that's going to be used by M&M team and whoever has access to it anyway. But what I'm looking for specifically for the live stream is 30 seconds. If you kind of kneel down to eye level with the sitter, head on with the sitter, so we can see all of them from their head down to if they're kneeling or whatever. And just record that for 30 seconds so you can see people walking in the background, but not too much movement around. Just keep them in the middle of the frame, 30 seconds, and then upload it to that Telegram group. And that will be used in the live stream a few minutes later.
Okay, I did lie. I've got one more question and then we're going to move on. It's going to go to you, back to you again, Vlad. Watch party, can you explain what it is, please?
I'm probably not the best person to work because I don't do the watch party side of things, but what I do know about it is it's kind of you start a video and you invite people to watch, and it has a beginning and an end. So it's kind of like premiering on YouTube, if anyone's familiar with that. So you kind of encourage people, you can invite people, and people get a notification about it. And it's something in between a live stream and just sharing a video or a live stream. Sharing doesn't send out notifications. It's kind of like people will see it if they go to your page, or if Facebook decides to show it to them in your newsfeed. Live streams give people notifications, so they're really good, and watch parties somewhere in between. So if there's a video on a page which you want to feature on your page, you can watch party and you can invite people to watch it. But it also works with live streams. So if a live stream is happening live on XR UK or a local group or wherever, you can do a watch party from a personal profile and also from a page as well.
So, right, we're going to move on now to Alice. Alice has been waiting patiently. She's going to talk about talk to you about interviewing techniques and kind of doing your research before you start live streaming. And that's mainly, not necessarily in this situation, but when you, hopefully you all do it again and you'll be experts. So this will be good tips for that. So over to you, Alice.
Okay, hello everyone, nice to see you. Thanks for all coming. I really appreciate that everybody is learning on this journey of live streaming, even if you have done it before and even if you are new to it, there's always something to learn. And one of those things I think would be really helpful to know more about for a lot of people is interviewing and interview skills. It can be something that's really intimidating, but it's really important, as no matter how interesting you are, there will always be need for changing up the scene a little bit. If it's just your head the whole way through a live stream, it's going to get a little bit boring. So this is where interviews come in. So I'm going to share my screen with you in a second, but I do just want to put in two disclaimers. One, if it's a lot of writing for you, don't worry, I will add the link into the chat so you can follow it at your own pace after the meeting. And secondly, I am next to a busy road, so I appreciate there is quite a lot of noise in the background, but if you can't hear anything, again, just pop in the comments and I can add that to the chat. So I've live streamed a few times for the Extinction Rebellion, and I have got a little presentation that I put together for you. You should see that on your screen now. And just as I've done that, I've moved you all to a point where I can't press the present button. There we go. Okay, fantastic. So as you can see, these are some of the interviews that have happened in live streams in the past. I can see that somebody isn't muted. So if you can mute yourself, that would be great, because otherwise it interrupts the feed. So as you can see in these pictures here, there's a few different interviews going on here. Largely, there's a person in the lower third, which means that they're generally off to one side of the image. And then there's something interesting going on in the background. There's a couple of ways to do interviews. One is with having the interviewee in front of you, and then another one is having them next to you, as you can see Vlad over here with an interviewee. The one that typically seems to be working at the moment is face on, in part because of the pandemic. And you'll notice that there's lots of masks being worn at the moment across these pictures, because applying your interview to the COVID pandemic and going with the rules as much as possible is important in this space. So again, having an interviewee brings context to the interview, to live stream, and also mixes it up a little bit, gets people involved. If you're worried about mask wearing and accessibility, there are a few things you can do. This is a great example of a mask that you can wear which shows your mouth. But that's not always possible. If that's not possible, you can always leave your interviewee and explain what they've said after the fact if you weren't actually able to read their lips, and summarize. That can be really helpful. And there's a few other things that you can do as well. So if you're worried about that, feel free to pop over a message. But as you can see in this, you'll see there's people of different ages, backgrounds, races, and all sorts of different parts of society that I think is really important to recognize when you're talking about interviewees. I think the number one key thing that you can do to set yourself up for success with interviewees is preparing. So firstly, how on earth do I find an interviewee? Where do I get them? Well, I'd suggest going to an event early and shouting, hey, my name's Alice, I'm live streaming with Extinction Rebellion. Is there anyone here who's up for an interview? Is there anybody here who doesn't want to be interviewed? Are there any scientists here? Are there any experts in what we're talking about here today? Because as the media world works, typically we give a lot of respect to scientists and much bigger platform to the educated side of conversations, and it can definitely take in a different dynamic, even though you don't have to be a scientist to be well aware of the climate crisis. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that being able to switch up and knowing the diversity of interviewees you can have in front of you can be really, really helpful. The minimum check though should be, are you comfortable speaking on camera before you talk to anyone? So again, if you can prepare in advance and prepare your interviews, know who you want to get on camera, know who's up for speaking to you, then great. But if you can't do that in advance, have a look when you get to an event. Where could I best represent this event, and go over to those people and ask them at a minimal, are you comfortable speaking on camera, sorry. Then again, just these are the key questions you should be asking yourself in these spaces. So are my choices inclusive? Is there diversity? And is my interviewee credible? If you don't think that your interviewee is making sense or will make sense or doesn't really seem like they would be credible, it's best not to interview them, because it can really jeopardize the value of the whole event, which is a big shame. So this is looking more onto that interview prep that I mentioned before. So if you're new to interviewing people, these are a few insider journo tips. So ask your interviewee to look at you or the camera. It can look really weird if they're looking all around you. This is once you've chosen your interviewee, these are some of the things that you can suggest that they know or tell them about. So one is to, when you're asking questions, avoid yes or no, tell them to avoid yes or no answers or jargon. So jargon is things like using the IMO instead of the International Maritime Organization. For example, during an interview, not everyone will know what the IMO is, but you can easily research the International Maritime Organization. Equally, things like greenwashing, those sorts of big words that a lot of people in the movement use, but some people outside of it definitely don't. It's important to have those explained. And it's not very interesting when you ask somebody a question and they just say yes or no. The interview is not going to last very long. Ask people to speak loudly if they're wearing a mask. That's a big problem at the moment, trying to get people to talk whilst wearing a mask and be heard. It's important, but masks still need to be worn if your COVID restrictions are valid in those places. If you are in a position where you cannot use your mask, it's best on camera to explain that that's the case, that you're not using a mask because I'm away from the crowd, etc. Then another key thing that a lot of people do is they shout into the mic and they move around a lot. And that can be a problem, especially if you're interviewing by yourself and they were here and now suddenly they're over there and they're not in shot. It won't make people tune in. It's all about trying to get people to keep their eyes on what you're talking about, the climate crisis, and therefore get them acting on what they hear and learn. So also explain to them that it is live, so keep on going even if you stumble. And Zoe does this great thing where she tells them to wrap up like this if she's got hands, or does this sign for wrapping up. That can tell them, you know, you need to move on. Particularly valid for the live streaming situations with Vlad. So when he's in your ear telling you you've got 5 seconds before you go to a different place. So there's a few questions you could also prep them with. You could find out a bit about their background, and this is where the next section comes in, because a lot of people worry about what questions do I actually need to ask and who do I need to interview when I'm in these spaces. So I've identified a few people that you probably need to think a little bit more about before you interview them. That definitely doesn't mean that you shouldn't interview them. You really should, every single one of these people that I've put out on here, but I'm just saying that there does need to be a little bit more thought that goes into that process. So the first one is a child. So children should never ever be interviewed if they're under the age of 16 unless you have parental consent. That's really important that you remember that. And there's also lots of questions or ways that you can interview these different types of people to get the most out of the interview. So that's why I've grouped them into little bits here. So the first one is focusing on the children. So children, really powerful interviewees they make. I've opened up a live stream before with a child's face talking about the climate crisis, and it was really popular and really cute to do as well, and with the permission of the parent, that was great. But something that can really help with interviewing children is having a parent next to that child or nearby, so that if the child stumbles or doesn't know what to say, the parent jumps in. Generally they have the parental instinct to do that, and it can be really powerful because kids often have stage fright. Another great way of getting around that is by giving kids the questions you're going to ask them beforehand, and therefore they've had enough time to really think about what they're going to say. Parents, you've got to remember that when you are interviewing a parent, maybe bear in mind that they have their child as their priority. So it could be that they'll be easily distracted. And rather than teasing out important questions, it's great to go straight in with the important questions with them, because it could be that they'll have to go sooner than you'd like. They are parents, and it's great when you're interviewing someone to pull at the relevance of that person. So for a child, speaking about what it's like being a child amidst this understanding of the climate crisis and how they feel about their future, etc. With parents, you'd ask them about what it's like to be a parent, knowing that this is what their outlook is. Then as officials, this can be a really tricky interview and quite scary for a lot of people, especially given that generally officials will ignore you. They won't engage in interviews, but when they do, it can be really powerful, and even when they don't, it can as well. So Fergal did a really great interview on a bridge when he got arrested with a bunch of bicycles in London that I recommend you have a look at, and you can see where an interview with a police officer can really go well. Perhaps Fergal, you can pop that in the comments if you have the chance. And then there's ways where it can go wrong, i.e. they completely ignore you and walk off, or they say things that are incorrect. So in those situations, again, remember, is this interviewee credible? And challenge if you don't think they are. Well, you're saying this, but the significant proportion of the scientific body argue with what you're saying. What would you say to that? And this is where you can look at to sort of contravene that argument. So it's important to remember those sorts of things. They can be dismissive and misleading, but even them being dismissive can be helpful. We're in a climate emergency, and even these people that are protecting us or supposed to be aren't doing that, and aren't even having a voice in that conversation surrounding the climate crisis. So there's ways of doing that. So for example, if a police officer didn't engage. So when it comes to experts, prepare them to not use jargon. It's great to have experts speaking on these places, especially where Extinction Rebellion in some countries is seen quite controversially. From, I think in the UK, we're considered uncooperative crusties. So if you have a scientist with years and years of experience on the camera explaining why that is absolutely an invalid comment to make, and that these people are understanding what's going on, and it's really, really impactful. Then if you're interviewing someone who is, but the key is to say no jargon, please. So explain the complicated terms if they do use them. It needs to be friendly to the layman. Then non-XR people, this again can be quite intimidating. I would definitely suggest that you check with the non-XR person what their views are first before you interview them, because of credibility, and also because you don't want it to become about that person. This is not about you, and it's not about them, it's about the climate crisis. So it's really key to not make it about an invalid or argument, or about someone's profile, essentially. People with additional needs, this is a really important one to talk about, because there's so many people that are affected by the climate crisis. We should be involving everybody in this discussion. So wherever possible, if you can get everybody from all backgrounds to be part of the conversation, is really important. And I have an example of where this has been something that I needed to pay extra attention to, where I spoke to someone who was autistic, who also had a speech impediment, in an interview, and I checked with him whether it was okay if he needed me to repeat back some of the things he was saying, or if he felt comfortable with me doing that. He said yes, absolutely, that was fine. And also talking about autism was relevant in the interview that I was doing, where I could say things like we were talking about the climate crisis, and he was saying that Greta Thunberg, as someone also autistic, has really inspired him to be part of the movement. So I've put these out there as examples of people who, when you're interviewing them, you can really pull at their profile as a way of talking about the climate crisis from a different angle, and that makes it more interesting, keeps more eyes on your live stream, and also expands the breadth of the conversation. I'm running out of time, and I'm really talking a lot, so I'm going to try and go a bit quicker. Now here, this is what a good interview looks like. Just on the left, you'll probably have seen a few of those yourselves over time. We're listening to radio, watching TV, things like that. All of the things that work really well in an interview there will work well in your interview, but you are not a journalist, and this is important to remember. So please don't feel like you have to come in there as a reporter. You are a normal person, and at the very interview research and having good interviewees, etc., are really great. Knowing what you're going to say, having some sort of understanding of what you're talking about is really important and great, but you don't have the pressure of an editor on your shoulder who's going to shout at you if you do it wrong. This is you being a normal person. So if something goes wrong, just communicate that. You'll just say, this has happened, I'm going over here now, explain what's happening. You're a normal person, and that's what will keep people watching. So this again focuses on the first part, prepare. So this is the luxury that you generally do have before most actions. Some of you definitely end up being on the fly, but the great thing is they're all about the climate crisis. So if you can know 3 key facts about the climate crisis that you can talk about, it can be really, really, really helpful. So I use an offline available Google Doc on my phone. I know that's a lot of people don't like using that because of security. So don't put anything that's too controversial on there, especially nothing incriminating, because it can be hacked. But I use that, and I have that as sort of a script on a dead phone, a phone without internet, and I take it with me, an old rubbish phone that hasn't been used for ages, and then I use my main phone with internet to do the interview. It's great because again, it adds to your credibility. You can pull from information that you have on your phone, and it also means you can use that as talking points. So here I've given some examples of spaces you can find research for your the place that you're in and the people that you're going to interview. So look at event specific facts. So for example, if you just get one sentence knowing what the event is going to be like. So I once got 4 degrees warming, so therefore I knew that I needed to research all about what the world would look like in 4 degrees at 4 degrees. So you can use that to inform your interview. Area specific facts. So for example, if you're about to see a beautiful woodland be destroyed, yet a famous author was inspired by this region, then it can add to your conversations that you have with your interviewee. Did you know that that Roald Dahl was inspired by these woods, and we're about to see them torn down? How does that make you feel? Leads to a much more emotive interview. And emotion is really helpful in an interview, and again gets people to watch the screen. So also think about both sides of the conversation. That doesn't mean that you have to give equal weighting to both, but it just means being aware of what the other side of the coin is, so that you can say things in an interview such as, some people say that what you're saying isn't right, and that this train line is necessary because of a capacity issue that is much more important than the environmental damage that's happening here. What would you say to that? And give people talking points like that. It's really helpful to feel like you are getting a more rounded perspective of each event. And then also knowing what the latest news is on that particular event can be helpful. You can talk about those and think about areas before you go into an interview where you can point people to find out more about that event that you're covering, that you're live streaming from. These are 3 facts that I generally have been known to use, and some examples of talking points. I'm not going to linger on this page. I will add the link into the comments. And then this is, and like I said, these 3 facts are easy to remember. So even if you don't have that Google Doc on your phone, you can remember those 3 facts quite easily. You can even write them down in your hand without making too much of a problem looking down at them. Having a script just won't work, but having a few points is very helpful. Mine's about 5,000 words long at this point, my Google Doc, so it's great to be able to pull different 3 facts from there. Now here is a few key questions, and this last bit I'm going to dwell on, but I do have 2 other slides that you can look at, including some question examples that you can ask, some resources you can look further for, and these are the one that I find most people seem to ask questions about, which is 1, how to get emotive answers. So asking how something makes them feel, look around them, what's going on, how do you feel about this, let them allow pauses. When you pause, people want to fill those pauses, and generally it can lead to some emotion. And if someone does cry, don't try and move the camera away from them. If they're comfortable, keep filming them. It will keep people engaged. Asking uncomfortable questions. If you don't want to cause an argument, although arguments do keep people watching, it's important you could say things like, some people would say, or what would you say to somebody who might say that, or what would your advice be to anybody who feels like this? How do you get other people to engage in your live streaming? Well, asking for it is really important. Tell your audience to share with 5 people that aren't part of Extinction Rebellion is really great, and an important tactic too, to get the word out there. As Fergal said, it's not about it's not about you or me, it's about the climate crisis, and the more people that we can get to watch these streams is really great. And the more they share it, the more likely you'll get people engaging with you. If you're going to interview someone and you're a bit nervous, you could say, I'm about to interview blah, blah, blah from blah, blah, blah. Do you have any questions you want to ask them? Or I'm going to interview that lady over there who's currently tied her neck to that pole. What would you like to know from her? And they can write questions in the comments, and you can ask them to her. It gets them more engaged, and the more engaged they are, the more your viewing will go up, because what the algorithms on these platforms will do is think, oh, this is important and valid, let's get that seen, and more people would therefore be able to see it, which is great. And you can also get them to engage in other ways by saying, wave at me if you can hear me, if you have any problems, let me know. Please like this video if there's anything that really hits home with you. It all helps it get seen. And to end the interview, so tell the audience where they need to go to find out more, and of course thank the interview if you can. And Katie mentioned about when it goes wrong, so things like aggressive interviews, or probably less likely to happen, or someone being aggressive in the background while you're interviewing someone. It's not about the person in the background, it's about the person you're interviewing and you, or the event that's going on. So try and focus on them and not about that person, and move away, reframe them so that you don't get the angry person in the background if you can. And you can do a head nod to that angry person and say, this person is so angry, tell me about it, I absolutely know how you feel. It's inevitable to get angry about the climate crisis. We need to be redirecting our anger to the people who are not making action happen faster. So that's a really brief summary on how to interview and interview skills. I will add the link to the comments so that you can follow that up if you need to. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And yeah, any questions? Ned, I can see you asking a question.
Tim asked a question in chat about the 30 seconds of just having that live stream. Is there a commentary on that, Vlad, or is it just quiet?
No commentary. No, just record its ambient sound. If you think about it, it's going to be used one of many. So we're going to create a grid of all of those. So it's just video.
But the one thing I would highly recommend is literally go, after this call, go to your Facebook account, set it to private, and do a recording. Do it in a loud environment so you can talk over it, walk around the house, go in the garden if you've got a garden or a balcony, and just practice and interview somebody. That's the only way I can say it. And don't think it's daunting, because it's not. It's quite easy, but it's just, I think we all get bogged down with the technology. Do you want to just give some tips and tricks about the photography, and also some of it's relevant for video, isn't it? Conversation. Yeah, he's here. Yep, he's here. So I'm going to go over to you, Gareth. Like I said, join the Telegram groups, and you can carry on the conversation there. And Vlad, can you show that video so people can see what we can do and what we do?
So much going on in 7 days. They've tried to silence us of getting the message out and speaking the truth. And this is all about speaking the truth.
The end of the earth.
Why should people be live streaming? It's that immediacy. You're getting stuff straight out to the audience. We get absolutely vast numbers of people on the live streams. This has got the highest viewing numbers for us, and it's now had over 3 million views.
We're here to say the truth has to be exposed. We can't censor the truth anymore. So most of the population can't bear the truth.
What an amazing and beautiful action of female power and vulnerability.
The truck says animal farming equals pandemics and climate crisis. Such a powerful message, because that's right, animal farming is one of the biggest drivers of climate change.
We're really calling out the government on the fact that this is dirty money, it's blood money, and it's all taxpayers' money that is being spent in fossil fuel projects.
We've joined rebels from Cardiff, Wales and South West in a sort of mega region get together, and the focus for today is telling the truth.
You're live on Extinction Rebellion. Could you explain what you're doing?
We want to wake people up and let people know that the government are hugely accountable for this.
And they have glued their hands to the windows. So, how old are you, please?
I'm 92.
Be gentle with him.
I'm Dan, I'm a bin man, and I think HS2 is going to ruin our beautiful countryside. Henry out.
To a place that
We need to act now against a government that is implicit in destroying our beaches. It's terrifying.
We weren't allowed to leave, and I raised this with an inspector, and he said, "Oh, the decision changed." And I asked him to repeat it. I've got it on film as well.
Act like your house is on fire because it is.
Those that carry a greater historical burden should do more.
So the goal here is to leave no one falling short on the essentials of life in the hole in the middle of that donut.
I'm going to hold this up slowly so you can see it over the wall.
These people are literally putting their lives on the line, and unfortunately that's what it takes to stop such a ridiculous project like this.
They actually signed this into law that the fracking on American soil was exempt.
At this moment in time, you're under arrest for obstruction of the highway. Okay, I'm going to sign off. Thanks for everybody for watching.
Collaboration between XRU, UKSCN.
We will be the ones to suffer for your profit. We will pay the price for your inaction. And yet we are the ones who are out here.
At the beginning of this so-called modern age of the Anthropocene began with the dispossession of the first people.
We were found here by colonizers, we were found here by slave traders.
Please do not destroy our water in the Okavango Delta.
This is where the climate talks are.
I am scared. Everything that I love is in severe danger.
If we don't face this, if we don't work together, we're potentially looking at the death of billions.
I'm willing to do anything. This is our world. This is history. This is everything we know.